welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a really big one, retirement planning. But we're not just going to be about, spreadsheets and numbers. Our mission here is to take your sources on financial planning, really unpack them, turn that information into knowledge you can actually use. We'll dive deep into the strategy, look at those unexpected pitfalls, maybe some surprising insights. The goal is you understand not just what to do, but why it's important, and crucially, how you can apply it.
That's exactly it. Retirement planning, it's probably the most complex financial chapter. It's not just about saving. It really weaves together your investments, taxes, insurance decisions, even, big lifestyle choices. Getting that holistic view, seeing how everything connects, that's absolutely key for satisfaction and well-being as you get older. Miss one piece and the whole thing can get shaky.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with a common idea, maybe a misconception. Lots of people think, okay, low withdrawal rate, good average return, I'm set, right? My savings will last. But the sources point to something kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah.
It's less about that average number and much more about the order things happen in, the sequence of returns and losses.
Yeah, this is called sequence risk, and it's fascinating and frankly quite scary if you don't plan for it. Let me paint a picture. Imagine two identical $500,000 portfolios. Over 26 years, they both get the exact same average return, 11.3%. And they both have the same income drawn out, starts at 6%, goes up 3% a year for inflation. Identical. The only difference, the sequence of good and bad years. Portfolio A hits losses early on. Despite that great average return, it completely ran out of money by 1994. Couldn't support the income anymore.
Wow, just gone.
Gone. Now, Portfolio B, same returns, same withdrawals, but the sequence was reversed. Losses came later. By 1994, Portfolio B didn't just survive. It had almost 132 times the balance remaining compared to A.
132 times. That's staggering.
It really shows the power of sequence risk.
So, bringing that back to you, the listener. This means early market crashes right after you retire. Or even taking out a big chunk of money early on, maybe for that dream vacation you planned. It can have the exact same devastating effect if the timing is wrong. You're selling low depleting capital when it's most vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
It really puts Warren Buffett's famous rule in perspective, doesn't it? Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. It's critical in retirement.
Absolutely. And this ties directly into portfolio management strategies. For instance, target date funds, they get called folly in some of these sources. They seem convenient, adjusting automatically, but often they're built more for employer protection, meeting basic DOL guidelines. They're rarely tuned to your specific required rate of return, which really needs a personalized calculation, maybe Monte Carlo analysis based on your budget.
That's a strong take, calling them folly, considering how common they are. So, beyond not being personalized, what's the specific risk there?
Well, it's that lack of precision. It's a bit like, driving using only the rearview mirror. Picking funds based only on past performance, that's risky too. Research consistently shows over 90% of your long-term returns come from asset class selection, not trying to pick the next hot stock. Doing it yourself without guidance, you risk ending up with an inefficient portfolio, maybe taking way too much risk or not enough, and that can lead to those devastating losses or running out of money.
Okay, so the alternative is what the sources call proper portfolio management. Sounds serious. It means quarterly rebalancing, using models tracking lots of asset classes, and ideally working with a professional advisor to stay on that efficient frontier, making sure your 401k, your other plans have that professional oversight on asset allocation too, not just the default.
Exactly. And once you've got that sound management structure, the next level is tax efficiency. This is where a lot of money gets left behind. Guideline 1 is about liquidations. If you need to sell assets, maybe to fund a new strategy or buy an annuity, you absolutely have to model the tax consequences first. Don't just sell. If it's a big tax hit, maybe stage it. Sell over 2, 3, even 4 years to spread out that tax burden. It can save you a lot.
Right. Planning ahead for taxes. Makes sense. And you mentioned planning ahead. Guideline 2 talks about the opportunity cost of delay. What's that about, especially with insurance or hybrid products?
This is crucial. Things change fast. Your health could change, affecting underwriting for insurance or annuities, or the products themselves change. Think back to 2009, 2012. Some variable annuity companies basically forced people out of certain investment options, or made them sell valuable riders because the markets were volatile. Waiting too long might mean you miss out on a good feature, or the rates aren't as good, or you don't even qualify anymore.
Okay, don't wait if the product fits and you qualify. What about Guideline 3? Taking a loss now can be strategic. How does that work?
It sounds counterintuitive, right? But think about Joe. Let's say he's got conservative investments, but the market just dropped 20%. He's thinking about an equity index annuity, an EIA, to cover his basic living expenses, his guaranteed needs. If he sells some of his beaten down stocks now to fund that EIA, his capital gains tax will be lower, maybe even zero. And any recovery that those stocks would have had is sort of mirrored by the potential gains inside the EIA, which is linked to an index. So he locks in protection for his essential income through the EIA's guarantees, and it frees up the rest of his portfolio to be potentially more aggressive, aiming for growth, because his basic needs are covered.
Ah, I see. So he uses the dip as a tax-smart moment to reallocate. Secure the base with the EIA, then let the rest aim higher. Clever?
It can be, yes. It's about strategic positioning.
Okay, investment strategy, tax efficiency. Let's shift to the real bedrock. Guaranteed income for guaranteed expenses. Building that solid floor.
Right. And this often starts with pensions, if you're lucky enough to have one. If they offer you a lump sum instead of lifetime payments, you need to be really careful. 4 key things to check. First, that pension income stream. It's likely insured by the PBGC, the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, like FDIC for pensions. You lose that government backing with a lump sum.
Okay, that's a big safety net to give up. What's second?
Second, compare rigorously. Take that lump sum offer and see what an A-rated insurance company would give you for an immediate annuity. But compare apples to apples. If you need income for you and your spouse, compare a 100% joint survivor pension option to the same from the annuity. If the annuity payout isn't clearly better, the pension might be the safer bet. Third, and this is really critical, your health. If you have health issues, that might mean, well, a shorter life expectancy. You absolutely want that pension survivor benefit payment, the SBP. Replacing that guarantee with life insurance might be prohibitively expensive or impossible.
And number 4.
Cost of living adjustments. COAs. Very few private pensions guarantee them anymore. But if yours has one, or even a history of granting ad hoc increases, an annuity is unlikely to compete unless it also has a guaranteed inflation rider, which can be costly.
So if your pension plus Social Security doesn't cover all those essential guaranteed bills, mortgage, utilities, food, healthcare premiums, that's where annuities really come in, right?
Precisely. They provide that certainty for necessary income. You figure out the gap, and that tells you the minimum you should consider putting into an annuity.
And how do you handle inflation on those necessities?
2 main ways described in the sources. Method 1. If you have a large enough investment portfolio, you basically earmark that portfolio for your wants, travel, hobbies, plus the inflation part of your needs. Then you run a Monte Carlo simulation aiming for, say, a 90% probability your money lasts until age 95. Method 2 is maybe more direct. You project your essential costs inflating maybe 2% a year for 30 years. Then you buy several fixed payout annuities that start at different times. One now, one in 10 years, one in 20 years to meet those rising costs. It's like laddering income.
Okay, let's quickly touch on the main types of annuities people might see.
Sure. First, immediate annuities. Simple concept.
Yeah.
Give the insurance company a lump sum. They give you the highest possible income stream starting right away for life. These often work best with non-qualified money and money you've already paid taxes on because of the exclusion ratio. Part of each payment is considered return of your principal, so it's tax-free.
Makes sense. Then variable annuities.
Variable annuities, or VAs. They offer tax-deferred growth linked to underlying mutual fund-like investments. Potential for high income if you live long and markets do well. But they usually have high internal costs, maybe 4% a year all in. Often restrictions on how you invest, and your income can actually go down if the investments perform poorly. Some older studies showed they could beat taxable funds purely due to tax deferral over very long periods, but there's often a better option now.
Which leads us to
equity indexed annuities, EIAs. These are often preferred now. Their unique feature is the no loss guarantee on your principal. When the index they're linked to goes down, you just get zero interest for that period. You don't lose principal value.
It sounds pretty appealing. No downside risk on the principal.
Exactly. Now, the trade-off is you don't get all the upside. You might get, say, 30% to 60% of the index's gain, often without dividends. But studies, like one from Wharton in 2010, showed this structure can lead to better long-term accumulation and income compared to just being in the index, because you avoid those big losses.
How does the income part work?
Typically, there's an income account value, or IAV, that grows at a guaranteed rate while you're deferring. When you turn on income, that IAV usually freezes. The best EIAs, though, allow the IAV to potentially keep growing even after you start income if the index does well, though this often stops around age 80. Key point. Don't just shop for the highest cap rate or participation rate. Focus on the guaranteed dollar amount of lifetime income the contract promises. And many offer valuable riders, like one that doubles your income for 4 or 5 years if you need long-term care, usually triggered by needing help with 2 of 6 activities of daily living.
Okay. And the last type?
Longevity annuities. These are newer, often inside qualified plans like 401ks. They offer much higher payouts, maybe 8-10% more than a standard immediate annuity. Because the payments don't start until much later, say age 80 or 85, think of it as pure insurance against outliving your money. The catch: usually no cash value, no flexibility once you buy it.
So 3 main ways to get money out of these things.
Right. First, on demand. You can usually take out up to 10% a year without surrender charges after the first year. But remember, penalties before 59 and a half still apply, and annuities aren't meant to be your emergency fund. They're for long-term income.
Okay. Second.
Annuitizing. This is that permanent exchange of principal for the highest income stream. You give up the lump sum forever, maximizes income, can have tax benefits, but most people hesitate to give up control of the principal, so it's actually not used that often.
And the most popular way
is the third. Lifelong guaranteed withdrawal riders. These are usually add-ons, often available from age 45 or so. They guarantee a certain income for life, calculated on that income account value or the actual cash value, whichever is higher at the time. Crucially, the income continues even if the actual account value drops to 0 because of withdrawals or market performance. One important note: if you take out more than the guaranteed withdrawal amount in a year, your future guaranteed income will be reduced proportionally. And unlike VAs, EIA carriers generally cannot just cancel this rider once you have it. That's a significant protection.
Got it. Okay, let's move to a big one, Social Security. The sources say it's so complex, you basically need specialized software to figure out the best strategy.
Absolutely necessary. There are thousands of claiming permutations, rules change. It's not a DIY calculation for optimization. The basic timing choice is claim early at 62 for a permanently reduced benefit, or wait until 70 for the maximum benefit, which grows about 8% per year for every year you delay past your full retirement age.
And taxes are a minefield here too, right? 2 big things to watch.
Yes. First, ordinary income tax. Up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can become taxable. It depends on your combined income. That's half your Social Security plus all your other taxable income, like pensions, withdrawals, interest. For a married couple filing jointly, if that combined income is between $32,000 and $44,000, up to 50% of your benefits are taxed. Over $44,000, it's up to 85%.
Okay, so other income can make your Social Security taxable. What's the second tax issue?
The earnings penalty. This only applies if you claim Social Security before your normal retirement age, which is 66, 67 for most people now, and you're still working. If you earn over a certain limit, it was around $17,000 in 2018, it adjusts yearly, your benefits get reduced. It can be a hefty cut, like $1 reduction for every $2 earned over the limit.
For couples, there's this 62-70 split age strategy. When does that make sense?
Generally, it's for couples where one spouse has a significantly higher benefit amount than the other, and maybe the higher earner has some health concerns suggesting a potentially shorter lifespan. The lower earning spouse claims their own benefit early at 62, getting some income flowing. The higher earning spouse delays claiming until age 70 to maximize their benefit. The idea is this maximized benefit then becomes the larger survivor benefit for the lower earning spouse if the higher earner passes away first.
Okay, makes sense in specific situations. No, really critical update.
Yes. This is huge. The old file and suspend strategy. It's basically gone for most people since 2016. You used to be able to file for your benefit at full retirement age, immediately suspend it so it kept growing, but that filing allowed your spouse to claim a spousal benefit on your record. Now, if you suspend your benefit, any spousal or dependent benefits based on your record are also suspended. Poof, gone. This is why relying on old advice from books, seminars, even well-meaning friends can be really dangerous. Rules change. Getting professional advice isn't just helpful, it transfers the risk. If the advice is wrong based on current rules, their errors and omissions insurance potentially covers it.
That's a really important warning. Okay, let's look at another tool. Indexed Universal Life Insurance, IULs. The sources paint them as pretty powerful, Roth-like income, backup LTC, life insurance. What's the deeper insight? When do they really make sense?
IULs can be very effective, particularly for people who've maxed out their other tax-advantaged options like 401ks and Roths, or for higher income earners facing significant taxes in retirement. The key is that Roth-like income. You access the cash value growth via policy loans, which are generally tax-free, and like EIAs, they have that no-loss floor. Your cash value is credited interest based on an index, but typically gets 0% in down years, protecting the principal. This protection can make them outperform traditional investments when you're taking withdrawals, because you're not selling assets during downturns to get your income. An illustration might show someone putting in, say, $12,000 initially, then $4,200 a year until 65, and then being able to take out over $53,000 a year in tax-free loans from 66 to 85. Plus, the death benefit is still there and often can be accessed early for long-term care needs. The nuance is they require a long-term commitment, and you need to understand the internal costs and how they impact performance. They're not short-term tools.
Okay, multifaceted but complex. Now, the really sensitive strategic decision. Keeping the pension survivor benefit, SPP, versus replacing it with life insurance. There's a stark cautionary tale here.
Yes, the story of Shasta Lennox is heartbreaking but instructive. After her divorce, her settlement specified her ex-husband would buy life insurance to replace the SPP she was entitled to from his pension. When he passed away, she went to claim the life insurance, only to find out he'd secretly canceled the policy months earlier. And even worse, he had also, without her knowledge, signed the form irrevocably waiving her right to the pension's SPP. He'd managed all the finances, intercepted mail. She was left with nothing.
Devastating.
Absolutely. It drives home how critical it is for both spouses to be involved, to understand documents like the SPP waiver, and ideally for the person relying on benefit, the potential widow or widower, to actually own and control the life insurance policy meant to replace the pension benefit.
So, assuming it's set up correctly, what are the actual advantages of using life insurance instead of just taking the reduced pension with the SPP?
Well, there can be several advantages. First, flexibility. If the spouse who would have received the SPP dies first, the retiree can just cancel the life insurance policy, maybe take out the cash value, and continue receiving their full unreduced pension. With SBP, the reduction is usually permanent. Second, legacy planning. Life insurance provides a generally tax-free death benefit to beneficiaries, which could be children or a trust. The SBP just stops when the survivor dies. And third, often the retiree gets a higher income during their own lifetime because they elect the full pension amount instead of the reduced amount required for the SDP.
So why isn't this done more often? It sounds pretty good.
Well, here's what one source calls the shameful secret. Pension plans themselves, especially government and military ones, and even some insurance carriers, actively discourage SBP replacement. Why? They call it adverse selection. They worry that only the healthy retirees who think their spouse will outlive them will opt for life insurance, leaving the pension plan stuck covering only the less healthy couples, which drives up costs for the plan. So while the math can be complex and you definitely need professional analysis, replacing the SBP with life insurance is often a very good, advantageous option for the individual or couple, despite the institutional headwinds.
Interesting. Okay, another mandatory thing. RMDs, required minimum distributions. Starting around age 70 and a half, you have to take money out of traditional IRAs and 401k.
That's right. It's currently age 73. Actually, the age keeps getting pushed back slightly, but the concept is the same. And the penalty for not taking enough is brutal. It used to be 50%. Now it's generally 25%, potentially reduced to 10% if corrected quickly of the amount you should have withdrawn. Still very significant.
So how do you manage withdrawals efficiently once RMDs kick in or even before?
The general wisdom is to stress your tax deferral. This means spending down your accounts in a specific order to minimize taxes over your lifetime. Usually you spend from your fully taxable brokerage accounts first. Then you tap into your tax-deferred accounts like traditional IRAs and 401k. You have to take RMDs anyway, so use those. And you leave your tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs for last, letting them grow tax-free for as long as possible. An example showed a $200,000 portfolio, half taxable, half tax-deferred, withdrawing $6,000 a year. If you took from taxable first, after 20 years, you had about $361,000 left. If you took from tax-deferred first, only $211,000. A big difference just based on withdrawal order.
That's a clear impact. And just briefly, reverse mortgages, another tool sometimes mentioned.
Yes, a complex one. The main benefit is accessing home equity as income without having to sell. And you generally can't owe more than the home's value, even if it drops. That's the no deficiency judgment, the main caution. High upfront costs, fees, and insurance can eat up a significant chunk of equity. Needs careful consideration.
Okay, switching to the safety net side, Medicare. Critical enrollment period around 65, right? And big penalties for messing it up.
Huge lifelong penalties if you delay enrolling in Part B, which covers doctor visits, outpatient services, or Part D, prescription drugs, without having other creditable coverage. For Part B, it's a 10% premium surcharge for every full year you could have had it but didn't. lifelong. For Part D, it's 1% of the national base premium per month of delay. Again, lifelong. We see veterans sometimes miss this, thinking their VA coverage is enough, but then face penalties if they later need Medicare Part B.
So beyond enrolling on time, what's the key financial piece with Medicare?
Understanding what it doesn't cover and budgeting for the gaps. Part A, hospital, is usually free if you paid Medicare taxes. Part B has a premium. Part D has a premium. If you don't choose a Part C Medicare Advantage plan, which bundles A, B, and often D, but usually has network restrictions, you'll likely need a separate Medigap policy to cover deductibles and coinsurance. Those have premiums too, so you must budget for these ongoing costs. And a huge underlying problem is the lack of price transparency in healthcare. You often have no idea what something truly costs until the bill arrives.
Yeah, that's a frustrating reality. But maybe the biggest financial blind spot, the real potential plan wrecker, is long-term care, LTC.
Absolutely. Huge misconception here. People think, oh, my health insurance will cover it, or Medicare will cover nursing home stays. No, Medicare covers skilled nursing care for short periods after a hospital stay, not the custodial care most people need long-term, help with bathing, dressing, eating. Medicaid does cover LTC, but only after you've spent down virtually all your assets. You have to become impoverished first, essentially, and the costs are staggering. Average nursing home, maybe $85,000, $100,000 a year now. Assisted living isn't cheap either. Home care adds up fast. The odds. An individual turning 65 today has about a 70% chance of needing some type of LTC in their lifetime. Maybe a 20% chance of needing it for 5+ years. For a couple, the odds one of them will need care are very high, maybe 90% plus this.
But LTC insurance is the main solution to protect assets.
It's the primary tool for transferring that risk. The sources suggest that combo or hybrid policies, life insurance, or an annuity with an LTC rider are often more cost-effective now than traditional standalone LTC policies. The thinking is the insurance company already has the death benefit or account value on its books, so the LTC rider isn't necessarily adding a huge amount of additional risk for them, which would make the pricing more efficient for you.
When you're looking at a policy, what are the must-haves?
Definitely need a sufficient daily or monthly benefit, maybe $200, $300 a day minimum now, depending on your area. Need a benefit period long enough. 3 years is common, 5 is better, lifetime is rare and expensive. Crucially, an inflation rider. 3% or 5% compound inflation protection is vital. Otherwise, your benefit will be woefully inadequate in 10 or 20 years. Or you need a massive personal reserve. Ensure it's tax qualified for potential deductions. And look hard for partnership policies. These are state-specific programs. The huge benefit of partnership policies is they allow you to protect assets equal to the benefits paid out by the policy if you ever do need to apply for Medicaid later. It helps you avoid total impoverishment. And be aware of the elimination period. Usually 90 days, you have to cover costs yourself before the policy kicks in.
Are there strategies agents sometimes don't mention?
A couple mentioned are, one, using the cash value in old life insurance policies. You might be able to convert that into LTC benefits, sometimes without new underwriting. Another is a shared pool of benefits for a couple. Instead of 2 separate 3-year policies, maybe you buy 1 6-year pool that either spouse can draw from. Often comes at a discount. Briefly on Medicaid planning, if that's the route, remember the 5-year look back. Gifts or asset transfers made within 5 years of applying can trigger a penalty period where Medicaid won't pay. It's calculated based on the amount transferred divided by the average monthly cost of care in your state. So a $120,000 gift with a $6,000 a month average cost means a 20-month penalty. There are exceptions for fair value transfers, like paying a caregiver reasonably. State rules vary hugely, so expert advice is critical here. I remember Lynn's grandmother. Her situation really drove home the value of planning ahead with private insurance if possible to maintain choice and dignity.
Okay, we've covered a ton of financial ground, but let's shift to something just as important, maybe more so. Lifestyle, attitude, mindset. Financial security isn't the whole picture for a happy retirement, is it?
Not at all. Mental well-being is huge. Are you going to be someone glued to CNBC, obsessing over every market tick? That's a recipe for anxiety. There's interesting research, like from Kelly Lambert, suggesting that engaging in activities requiring hand-eye coordination and producing tangible results, think gardening, knitting, woodworking, maybe even playing an instrument, can actually build resilience against anxiety and depression. Keeping physically active is obvious, but mental exercise, reading, learning new things, staying socially engaged is just as vital for cognitive health.
And collaboration. Not trying to do it all yourself, right?
Yeah.
Avoiding ego or just putting things off. There's a story about an inventor, Nick.
Yes, Nick, or Howard as he was known. Highly intelligent inventor, had good royalty income initially. He was absolutely convinced you could manage his finances better than anyone. But the royalty started drying up. He fell behind on the mortgage but hid it completely from his wife, Clara. He was too proud, too used to being the provider. Then he got a terminal diagnosis. He finally reached out, completely distressed. We were able to arrange a viatical settlement on his life insurance, selling the policy for cash to pay off the mortgage just before he passed. Clara had no idea they were in financial trouble until after he was gone. She thought everything was fine.
So Nick's biggest mistake, the one we really want you, the listener, to avoid,
Was that dangerous assumption? Whatever is happening now at the start of retirement will just keep going. Income streams change, expenses change, health changes. His story is a powerful lesson. Financial plans made in a vacuum, without professional reality checks, without open communication with your spouse or partner, they are just incredibly fragile, vulnerable to failure.
So wrapping this deep dive up,
I think what we've seen is that retirement planning, it's so much more than just saving money. It's about navigating a really complex web of rules, taxes, risks. It's about actively protecting yourself against the unexpected and really aiming for well-being in the broadest sense, financial, yes, but also mental and personal peace of mind.
and that true wisdom seems to lie in seeing how all these different pieces, investments, insurance, taxes, Social Security, healthcare, even your mindset are interconnected. And maybe, most importantly, knowing when you need expert guidance to help you connect those dots effectively for your specific situation. So think about what we've unpacked today. Which of these areas might need your attention? What stands out to why you, and what will you unpack next?